His bedroom door was cracked open, and I could hear it. Soft grunts, breathless whispers, and the faint creak of a bed frame. Curiosity, maybe, or something darker. When I peered inside, I didn't expect to see my 25-year-old stepson, lost in his own world, his body moving in a way that made my breath catch. "You weren't supposed to see this," I heard myself say, and in that moment, I crossed a line I swore I never would. But what happened after? Even I didn't see coming. Before I go any further, I just want to say thank you to everyone subscribed to this channel. Your support means everything to me. To all new viewers, I see you too. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I hope this story pulls you in deep enough to tap that button. That little click is the fuel that keeps this channel alive and burning. Also, I want to hear what you think about stories like this. Your thoughts, your reactions, your judgments, or understanding. Drop them all in the comments. Let's talk. Let's share. Now back to that night. I'm Laura, and I've lived in Wyoming for most of my adult life. Small towns like this keep secrets buried under sagebrush, wind, and silence. I married Henry when I was 42. He was a rugged, greying man with a farmer's hands and a teacher's voice. Strong, respected, but emotionally distant. He had a son, Ethan, from a previous marriage. When I met Ethan, he was only 14, all lanky limbs and shy smiles, polite, reserved. But as the years passed, the boy grew into a man, a tall, broad-shouldered, quiet, smirking man. Henry and I stopped touching each other 3 years ago. No affair, no fight, just a slow retreat into separate rooms, separate routines, separate lives. I stayed out of duty, out of habit, out of fear. Ethan had come home for the summer, fresh from college, saying he needed time to figure things out. I let him stay in the spare room, but somehow, day by day, we kept crossing into each other's space. Kitchen glances that lingered too long. Shirtless mornings, his hand brushing mine when we passed the plates. That night, I couldn't sleep. The ceiling fan whirred, and Henry was snoring softly in the room down the hall. I got up to get water, and then I heard him. I should have walked away. I should have, but I didn't. I stood at his doorway, watching my stepson move with slow, deliberate strokes. My name slipped from his lips like a secret he'd whispered 100 times before. And when he saw me, I wanted to feel guilty. But guilt didn't show up that night. It came later. Much later. Because what I didn't realize in that moment was that I had awakened something in Ethan, something darker, deeper, and more dangerous than I was ready to handle. The next morning, the house was too quiet. Henry had already gone out to the fields, as he always did around 5:30 a.m. His boots were gone from the porch, his thermos missing. Same routine, same rhythm, but nothing felt the same to me. I was sitting at the kitchen table, staring at the untouched coffee in my hands, when Ethan walked in. He didn't say a word, just looked at me with those same eyes, dark, steady, unapologetic. He was shirtless again, no accident this time. His jeans hung low, his confidence higher than ever. "Morning," he said. I looked up at him, my chest tightening. "We should talk about what happened," I said. He smiled, that lazy, dangerous smile. "We could, or we could do it again." My breath caught. I hated the way my body reacted to him, the way heat curled inside me like a spark waiting for kindling. But I shook my head, firming my voice. "Number it was a mistake." He leaned down close, lips inches from my ear. "Then why are you trembling?" He was right. My hands shook slightly against the mug. Not from fear, from craving. I stood and walked away from him, from the kitchen, from the memory of last night. But no matter how far I walked in that small house, I couldn't escape what I'd done or what I was still feeling. That day, I tried to act normal. Chores, dishes, a quick run to town, but Ethan was always there, watching, waiting, testing me. Later that evening, I was folding clothes when I found one of his shirts buried under my clothes in the basket. Not just any shirt, the one he'd worn the night it happened, still carrying his scent. Clean cotton, musk, and sin. I dropped it like it burned. When Henry came home, he kissed my cheek like always, sat at the table, told me about a broken tractor and a neighbour's new horse. He didn't notice a thing, and that broke me even more. That night, I lay in bed beside him, silent, still. His back turned, his breathing deep, and my phone buzzed. A message from Ethan. Just 2 words. Still thinking. I turned the screen over and tried to sleep. But sleep didn't come. Instead, memories replayed. His hands, his breath, the way my name sounded in his mouth. And worse, the part of me that wanted more. The next morning, Henry left early again. I was in the kitchen, scrubbing dishes, when Ethan came up behind me, slow and certain. I froze. "You haven't told him," he whispered. "So I'm guessing you're not done." I pushed him away, but he was stronger, hungrier. "We're done, Ethan. It was a mistake. One time." He smirked. "Then why do you keep wearing that perfume? The one I said drove me crazy." I had no answer because deep down I had put it on for him. That afternoon, I called my best friend Sarah, who lived an hour away in Cody. I didn't tell her everything, but I said enough to confess that I'd blurred the line with Ethan. Her silence on the other end was like a slap. "Laura, you need to stop before this blows up your whole life." But it was already blowing up, inside me, around me, between Ethan and Henry, because the guilt had arrived and it brought company. Paranoia, shame, and a secret I couldn't carry much longer. But then something happened that shifted everything. That night, Henry came into the room and said, "Ethan and I are driving up to Cheyenne next weekend to help Uncle Tom with the livestock auction." I nodded. Then Henry added something that made my stomach twist. "He's thinking of staying up there for a while, getting some space. Said things feel complicated here." Complicated. Had Ethan told him something? Was he planning to leave? Or worse, was he playing me? That night, I waited until the house was quiet again. Then I walked to Ethan's room and opened the door without knocking. He was sitting on the edge of his bed, shirtless again. But this time, I didn't say a word. He looked up and said, "I knew you'd come back." I stepped in, not because I wanted to, but because I needed to know the truth about who this boy really was and what he wanted from me. What he said next shattered everything I thought I understood. Ethan's room smelled faintly of pine and sweat. The lamp on his nightstand cast a soft amber glow across his bare chest. He looked too calm, too confident, like he'd been waiting for this moment, not just tonight, but for weeks. I closed the door behind me. "What do you want from me, Ethan?" I asked. My voice trembled, but I held his gaze. He leaned back on his elbows, legs spread wide, eyes fixed on mine. "I want to know why you keep pretending you don't want this," he said. "I want to know why you look at me like you're starving but act like you're afraid to eat." My face flushed with heat. Part of me wanted to scream at him, "You're my stepson." But another part wanted to scream at myself. He stood up slowly, and every inch of him reminded me how far he'd come from that awkward teenager I once helped with science projects. Now he was a man, and he knew it. Worse, he knew I knew it. I turned away, gripping the doorknob like it was my lifeline. "You're leaving next weekend with Henry. That's good. We need space. I felt him step closer, his breath on my neck. Or maybe I tell him everything before we go, he said, too casually. I froze. What did you just say? He chuckled under his breath. Relax. I'm not that cruel. Yet. But I think you should hear something. The truth. I turned around slowly. What truth? He sat back down, elbows on his knees. You think I just lost control that night, right? That I saw you in the hallway and couldn't stop myself? He paused, then smirked. I made that happen on purpose. My stomach dropped. What are you talking about? I left the door cracked so you'd hear. I whispered your name because I knew you'd be up. I knew Henry would be dead asleep. I wanted you to walk in. I wanted you to see what you'd been pretending not to look at for months. I couldn't breathe. I saw how you looked at me in the mornings. The perfume, the dresses with the low necks, the lingering touches when you walked past. You were just as guilty before anything ever happened. My heart was pounding. You set me up? I asked. He shrugged. I gave you a choice. You made it. My knees buckled slightly, and I sat on the edge of his bed, stunned. He hadn't just seduced me. He'd manipulated me, played me like a fool. And the worst part, he wasn't wrong. I had noticed him, watched him, craved him, and that first night, I had made a choice. What do you want from me now? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. He leaned in close, cupped my jaw gently. I want you to admit you liked it, that you needed it, that you're tired of being invisible in your own marriage. Tears welled in my eyes, but I didn't let them fall, because part of me, the part I hated, agreed with him. Henry hadn't touched me in years, hadn't made me feel like a woman, like a desire, like anything other than a fixture in his quiet, fading world. But this wasn't love. This was power, lust, control. And now I saw Ethan for what he was, not a boy craving affection, but a man playing a dangerous game, one he was winning. I stood up and faced him. You want to win, Ethan? Fine. You got what you wanted, but this ends now. You leave with your father. You go to Cheyenne. You forget this happened. And if you ever threaten to tell him, I swear I'll burn every bridge you have. He looked surprised, then amused. You really think you can pretend nothing happened? I stepped closer, my eyes locked on his. I've lived with bigger lies than you, and I'll survive this one too. He stared at me for a long beat, then smiled. Guess you're stronger than I thought. As I turned and walked out of his room, I knew the consequences would follow me. That guilt would settle in my bones for years, that I might never forgive myself. But I had taken back control. I had drawn a line in the ashes. And even if my marriage would never be the same, even if I would never look at myself the same way again, I had chosen to stop the fire before it consumed everything. Was Ethan playing the long game from the start? Should Laura have confessed to Henry or kept the secret buried? Can desire ever truly be separated from manipulation? Let me know what you think in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel if this story gripped you. Your support is what keeps this journey alive, one confession at a time. Until the next